Hi kids, we're here to do another reading lesson. It'll be our third Cinderella read aloud, and Gus brought a friend who wants to meet us. Gus, do you want to introduce your friend? Gus, come on, don't be so shy. Introduce your friend. Oh, okay, I will. All right. Gus's friend, this is Sparkle. And, oh, hi, is this thing on? Hello? 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 Hi, I'm Sparkle. Hi. I'm so happy to see you guys. This is really fun. I love being on camera. I'm so beautiful, huh? Okay, Sparkle, it's time for you and Gus to go play so I can do a read aloud. No, I don't want to go. I want to stay here with the kids. Gus, can you help me out here? Okay, so today we're going to read another fairy tale, and this one is one of my favorites, except now, oh, here it is. It's called Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, and it's a Cinderella tale from Africa. And what makes this book really interesting is there's actually two daughters, and they're twins, and they look exactly alike. So when we talk about their physical characteristics are going to be the same. They're both are very similar. They're both very beautiful. They have brown hair. They're both very strong. But their personalities or their character traits are very different. So pay attention when I'm reading this to Manyara is one sister, and her personality is very different from Nyasha, who is the other sister. And we'll compare their personalities after they read aloud. Oh, I better get my glasses. This one also has beautiful illustrations. So I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see them while I read. And this is by John Steptoe. Look at the illustrations. A long time ago, in a certain place in Africa, a small village lay across a river and a half a day's journey from a city where a great king lived. A man named Mufaro lived in this village with his two daughters who were called Manyara and Nyasha. Everyone agreed that Manyara and Nyasha were very beautiful. You want to see them up close? Oh, they are beautiful. Manyara was almost always in a bad temper. She teased her sister whenever their father's back was turned, and she had been heard to say, "Someday, Nyasha, I will be queen and you will be my servant in my household." "Well, if that should pass," Nyasha responded, "I will be pleased to serve you. But why do you say such things? You are clever and strong and beautiful. Why are you so unhappy?" "Because everyone talks about how kind you are, and they praise everything you do," Manana replied. "I'm certain that Father loves you best. But when I am queen, Everyone will know that your silly kindness is only weakness. So they are twins, twin sisters, and they have a lot in common, but their character traits are very different. I'm thinking that Manyara is angry and maybe mean. And I'm thinking, after reading this page, Nyasha is kind, and maybe she is, I think, also pretty nice, because even though her sister's saying mean things to her, she's still acting with kindness. Nyasha was sad that Manyara felt this way, but she ignored her sister's words and went about her chores. Nyasha kept a small plot of land on which she grew millet and sunflowers and yams and vegetables. She always sang as she worked, and some said it was her singing that made her crops more bountiful than anyone else's. No, look at the birds. One day, Nyasha noticed a small garden snake resting beneath a yam vine. "Good day, little Nyoka," she called to him. "You are welcome here. You will keep away any creatures who might spoil my vegetables." She bent forward, gave the little snake a loving pat on the head, and then returned to her work. From that day on, Nyoka was always at Nyasha's side when she tended her garden. It was said that she sang all the more sweetly when he was with her. Oh, so she made a friend. Oh, it looks like she's growing kale. Now, Mufaro knew nothing of how Manyara treated Nyasha. Nyasha was too considerate of her father's feelings to complain, and Manyara was always careful to behave herself when Mufaro was around. Early one morning, a messenger from the city arrived. The great king wanted a wife. "The most worthy and beautiful daughters in the land are invited to appear before the king, and he will choose one to become queen," the messenger proclaimed. Mufaro called Manyara and Nyasha to him. "It would be a great honor to have one of you chosen," he said. "Prepare yourselves to journey to the city. I will call together all our friends to make a wedding party. We will leave tomorrow as the sun rises." "But my father," Manyara said sweetly, "it would be painful for either of us to leave you, even to be wife to the king. I know Nyasha would grieve to death if she was parted from you. I am strong. Send me to the city and let poor Nyasha be happy here with you." Mufaro beamed with pride. "The king has asked for the most worthy and the most beautiful. No, Manyara, I cannot send you alone. Only a king can choose between two such worthy daughters. Both of you must go." Do you think Manyara was trying to trick her dad? And so he would just send her, and then she could be queen, and Nyasha would have to stay home. It seems like that's something that she would do. That night, when everyone was asleep, Manyara stole quietly out of the village. She had never been in the forest at night before, and she was frightened. But her greed to be the first to appear before the king drove her on. In her hurry, she almost stumbled over a small boy who suddenly appeared standing in the path. "Please," said the boy, "I am hungry. Will you give me something to eat?" Well, I have brought only enough for myself, Manara replied. Oh, but please, said the boy, I am so very hungry. Out of my way, boy. Tomorrow I will become your queen. How dare you stand in my path? After traveling for what seemed to be a great distance, Manara came to a small clearing. There, silhouetted against the moonlight, was an old woman seated on a large stone. The old woman spoke. I will give you some advice, Manara. Soon after you pass the place where two paths cross, you will see a grove of trees. These trees will laugh at you. You must not laugh in return. Later you will meet a man with his head under his arm. You must be polite to him. How do you know my name? How dare you advise your future queen? Stand aside, you ugly old woman. Manara scolded and then rushed on her way without looking back. Oh, she was not nice. But I have to say, the old lady said some strange things. Just as the old woman had foretold, Manara came to a grove of trees, and they did indeed seem to be laughing at her. I must be calm, Manara thought. I will not be frightened. She looked up at the trees and laughed out loud. I laugh at you, trees, she shouted, and she hurried on. It was not yet dawn when Manara heard the sound of rushing water. The river must be up ahead, she thought. The great city is just on the other side. But there, on the rise, she saw a man with his head tucked under his arm. That's weird. Manara ran past him without speaking. A queen acknowledges only those who please her, she said to herself. I will be the queen. I will be the queen, she chanted as she hurried on toward the city. Now Nyasha woke at the first light of dawn. As she put on her finest garments, she thought how her life might be changed forever beyond this day. I'd much prefer to live here, she admitted to herself. I'd hate to leave this village and never see my father or sing to little Nyoka again. Her thoughts were interrupted by loud shouts and a commotion from the wedding party assembled outside. Manara was missing. Everyone bustled about, searching and calling for her. When they found her footprints on the path that led to the city, they decided to go on as planned. As the wedding party moved through the forest, brightly plumed birds darted about in the cool green shadows beneath the trees. Though anxious about her sister, Nyasha filled with excitement about all there was to see. So Nyasha was worrying about Manara, but she was also enjoying the trip. They were deep in the forest when she saw the small boy standing by the side of the path. Oh, remember the small boy that met Manara back here? The boy, you must be hungry, she said, and handed him a yam she had brought for her lunch. The boy smiled and disappeared as quietly as he had come. Later, as they were approaching the place where the two paths crossed, the old woman appeared and silently pointed the way to the city. Nyasha thanked her and gave her a small pouch filled with sunflower seeds. The sun was high in the sky when the party came to the grove of towering trees. Their upmost branches seemed to bow down to Nyasha as she passed beneath them. At last, someone announced that they were near their destination. Oh, do you see the city off in the distance? Oh, there's Nyasha and her father. Nyasha ran ahead and topped the rise before the others could catch up with her. She stood transfixed at her first sight of the city. "Oh, my father," she called, "a great spirit must stand guard here. Just look at what lies before us. I never in my life dreamed there could be anything so beautiful." Arm in arm, Nyasha and her father descended the hill, crossed the river, and approached the city gate. Just as they entered through the great doors, the air was rent by piercing cries, and Manyara ran wildly out of a chamber at the center of the enclosure. When she saw Nyasha, she fell upon her, sobbing, "Do not go to the king, my sister. Oh, please, father, do not let her go," she cried hysterically. "There's a great monster there, a snake with 5 heads. He said that he knew all my faults and that I displeased him. He would have swallowed me alive if I had not run. Oh, my sister, please do not go inside that place." It frightened Nyasha to see her sister so upset. But leaving her father to comfort Manyara, she bravely made her way to the chamber and opened the door. Oh, so Manyara is very upset. She was scared by what she saw. It's interesting that Nyasha, even though she was crying and telling her, "Please do not go," Nyasha is being brave and feels like she must see for herself. On the seat of the great chief's stool lay the little garden snake. Nyasha laughed with relief and joy. "My little friend," she exclaimed, "it's such a pleasure to see you. But why are you here?" "I am the king," Nyoka replied. And there, before Nyasha's eyes, the garden snake changed shape. Oh, so there's some magic in this story. "I am the king. I am also the hungry boy with whom you shared a yam in the forest, and the old woman to whom you made a gift of sunflower seeds. But you know me best as Nyoka. Because I have been all of these, I know you to be the most worthy and the most beautiful daughter in the land. It would make me very happy if you would be my wife." And so it was that, a long time ago, Nyasha agreed to be married. The king's mother and sisters took Nyasha to their home, and the wedding preparations began. The best weavers in the land laid out their finest cloth for the wedding garments. Villagers from all around were invited to the celebration, and a great feast was held. Nyasha prepared the bread for the wedding feast from millet that had been brought from her village. Mufaro proclaimed to all who would hear him that he was the happiest father in all the land, for he was blessed with 2 beautiful and worthy daughters, Nyasha, the queen, and Manyara, a servant in the queen's household. Oh, do you see this? So this is Nyasha as the queen and the prince. And you see how he has his fancy clothes. Oh, I wonder if this is Manyara. She's with her sister. She helps her, I guess. Huh. Did you like that story? Okay, so let's fill out our Cinderella story recipe. I wrote the title already, Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, right there. And let me get a marker. I want to use a different color than before. How about if I use orange? So is Cinderella kind? The Cinderella character? Yes. The Cinderella character, the one that marries the prince at the end, is Nyasha, and she's very kind. Her siblings are mean. Well, there's only one sibling. That's Manyara. And yeah, Manyara was mean for sure, right? Is something lost? What do you think about that? Was there anything in here lost? Not that I can think of. I'm looking for evidence, thinking that maybe the illustrations would help us remember something that maybe I've forgotten as I look back. No, there's nothing lost. So I'm not going to put a check mark there. Let's look at the last one. The Cinderella character, Nyasha, goes from poor to rich. Well, Nyasha seemed very happy in her village before she met the prince and lived in the castle. I guess she was poor, but she wasn't miserable. But yeah, she seemed to have a very simple life in the village, and she had a very different life as the queen. So I am going to put a check mark there. Do you agree? Okay, there's our Cinderella recipe. And I wanted to show you one other thing. Because I wanted to compare Manyara with Nyasha, the two main characters in this story. Let me put this here so you can see it. I did a Venn diagram. Remember these? Okay, this circle is characteristics about Manyara. This circle is characteristics about Nyasha. And the place in the center where they overlap are characteristics that they both share. So as I was reading the book, I realized that Manyara was angry. Would you agree? Selfish. She was scared at parts. Remember at the end, she was crying hysterically when she saw the garden snake? She was definitely mean, and I do think she was clever. Nyasha, on the other hand, even though they were twins, her personality was very different. She's kind and helpful. She's brave because when her sister Manyara was crying and scared about the snake, Nyasha decided that she really needed to see the monster on her own. She was also generous and happy. Now, in the center are things that I found they both had in common. They were both very beautiful. They both had beautiful brown hair that's braided on top of their head. And I do think both of them were very strong. So again, a Venn diagram is a great way to compare characters. When you're reading your books at home, maybe instead of just getting to know one character, think about two characters, getting to know them and comparing them. How are their personalities similar? How are they different? And when you get to know these characters in your book, you can also start making predictions and guesses of what they're going to do in a situation, or how they're going to act or behave, or maybe even what are they going to say. So Gus says he wants to say bye and sparkle. And so as we're ending our lesson number 3 in our Cinderella series, say goodbye to our friends.